Welcome back to First Take. The Titans made a surprising move late last night, finalizing a deal to hire 49ers defensive coordinator Robert Saleh as their next head coach. Saleh was previously the head coach for the New York Jets for over 3 seasons, really impressing the Titans brass with his final interview on Monday. Meanwhile, earlier in the day, the Dolphins announced their decision to hire Jeff Hafley as their next head coach. Hafley spent the last 2 years as the Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator and takes over a team that hasn't won a playoff game in 25 seasons. Stephen A., better fit, Hafley in Miami, Saleh in Tennessee?
Well, I don't know, because I'm looking at Hafley in Green Bay, and I was like, your defense was one level with Micah Parsons, and it was another level without him. So I got to pay attention to that. It remains to be seen. He's never been an NFL head coach before. The only time we saw him as a head coach was in college at Boston College, where he was 4 games under 500 in 4 seasons. Do I think he deserved the opportunity? Yes. I'm happy for him, and I hope that he does a good job, and he's got nowhere to go but up. So I guess the answer would be him, considering the level of ineptitude and purgatory status that the Miami Dolphins have lived with over the last quarter century, since they can't win a playoff game to save their damn lives. There's distractions down in Miami. There's distractions. You got to be focused, because you're going to run into a lot of players where, you know what, we lose. But I mean, listen, down in South Florida, man, you lose some football games, you still see cats rolling out with smiles on their faces. Sun's going to shine tomorrow. That's how they living. All right. You got to change that attitude, that culture. Here's what I want to say, though. Hafley would be my answer to this question, because I didn't want Saleh in Tennessee. I'm sure Cam Ward's got promise. I'm sure he showed it this year. The few games that I watched him, he showed it was up and down, obviously. But when I think about Saleh and what he brings to the table, I know he didn't make the playoffs and he had a losing record himself in the 4 years coaching with the New York Jets. But being in that market, having that defense where it was, which coaxed Aaron Rodgers to coming to the New York Jets. Listen, when I hear about Saleh, what do they want? They want accountability. They want people that are unafraid of conflict. This is why Tennessee hired him. Well, guess where they need that? They need that in Baltimore. They need a fresh mind, but somebody that's going to hold cats accountable and remind you of what the days were like when Ed Reed, who I saw last night, and Ray Lewis and those boys were wearing a Baltimore Ravens uniform. I really, really wanted Robert Saleh to be a finalist, if not the candidate for the Baltimore Ravens job, rather than Tennessee. That's where I think he belonged. I don't like it for Tennessee, short term anyway. Long term remains to be seen. So I say the answer to this question is Hafley.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I like the Hafley fit better than the Saleh fit. And
wow.
Saleh's tenure with the Jets colors it a little bit negatively for me, with him aligning himself with a young quarterback in Cam Ward down in Tennessee. Even though Saleh had the overall trajectory for the Jets pointed up before Aaron Rodgers got to Florham Park, Zach Wilson and the development or lack thereof is why I would be hesitant to hire Rob Saleh in order to have him get the most out of Cam Ward. I'm not one of these people that believe that you have to hire a quarterback whisperer, but at the same time, the previous failure that Saleh had to develop Zach Wilson is why I don't like the fit. Conversely, with Jeff Hafley, the alignment that he has with general manager John Eric Sullivan being on the same timeline, both of them have experience working together in Green Bay. I think the most talented side of the ball in Miami is the defensive side of the ball. Best player on the team, Jordan Brooks, first team All-Pro. I like the pieces that they have, and they're going to need a really good defense in order to function forward past that Tua contract. So I like the Hafley fit more than the Saleh fit.
Wow, I'm surprised by that. Yeah, I'm going Saleh here for kind of the reasons you just talked about with the Dolphins. I think their best unit is the defensive side. Cam Ward is an up-and-coming guy. You got to surround up-and-coming quarterbacks with help. And you give them a good defense. If Saleh puts a good defense, the biggest question mark for me on both of these guys is who are their hires. Like, listen, head coaching is what it is. We can think of it. But who you hire as an OC, as a special teams coordinator, as a defense coordinator, matter. And I want to see kind of how these guys laid out, because Cam Ward, to your point, he's a blank canvas at this point.
A lot of talent.
A ton of talent. You see some of the throws he made, like we talked about, like Caleb Williams was capable of doing. He makes some of those same throws. The problem is he's going to have to get carried as this progression goes. And so who do you match with him? Who do you get as your offensive coordinator? To me, but Saleh, I think all of us agree, is a no-nonsense guy. all teams, to me, so far have been really quick. I don't understand the hurry on a lot of teams. Dermott's now out there. Like,
I do.
Some good coaches. It's kind of shocking to me. What do you think?
Stephen A. Quick wrap.
I wouldn't say I understand the quickness on the part of the teams, but as a coach, a bird in the hand is the bird in the hand. You can't pass up on opportunities because of a maybe somewhere else.
For sure.
It's 32 of these jobs. That's it. And so that explains why you see these coaches going all out trying to get these jobs while they can, because they just don't know.
Agreed. That Tennessee job, with the decision-making of that franchise lately, with Vrabel and with Henry and some of the other decisions, you just wonder what's your upside if you're Saleh. You take the job. You take the job for sure, but you wonder. Coming up, is Indiana officially...
We're unsportsmanlike. We're playing Lincoln Park.
I was asking, this is before the game, I was talking to Azeez Al-Shire of the Texans, and I was referencing last Monday night, not knowing this pattern was going to repeat itself. And I said, as a defense, like, what's that feeling of having to run back out onto the field after a turnover? You just got to stop, and now they turn it over, and you're in a short field. And he said, my mentality is it doesn't even matter. He said, and that we have what we call White Boy Wednesdays in the weight room, and where they play the rock music and older rock music, and he said there's that one song, and he starts singing this song, and he said, I don't even know the song, I just know that part where they say it doesn't even matter. He said, I was singing that song running back out onto the field Monday night. So I don't know if he was still singing by the second half on Sunday, because at that point it did matter. C.J. Stroud was determined to make sure it did, so bummer for the Houston defense. But yeah, that's why that's why that report that got a little attention.
You don't say. Did you know the moment you said White Boy Wednesdays that it was going to go viral?
Well, I don't have a real. Yeah, I mean, no, because I don't know what goes into all that. Like, there was one, like Texans fan account that tweeted it, and it caught some attention. So that's good. I'm glad.
And nobody from Lincoln
people
Park
enjoyed
reached
it.
out to maybe.
Nobody from Lincoln Park has yet reached out. No,
all right.
That's true.
Graz, why is Sean McDermott no longer the coach of the Buffalo Bills?
Well, because they didn't win. I mean, the expectations are you have Josh Allen, you have this team that's in the playoffs literally every year, and you're falling short. I think, ownership just decided that wasn't good enough, and it's time to make a change. What's interesting is they elevate Brandon Beane, the GM, so obviously they'll tell you they're not assigning blame, but obviously they're assigning blame if you keep one and get rid of the other. So it's an interesting move. Remember, the Bills did not make the playoffs for 17 straight years before Sean McDermott got there, and what he has built. And by the way, he was there before Brandon Beane. What he has built there is a perennial playoff team. And, it's a be careful what you wish for situation. Like, I can understand why people in Buffalo wanted to change because they're not getting where they need to go. But I don't know, man. That level of change is risky. Which, take a risk for sure. But, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, they're saying that what Sean McDermott has done is not good enough, and I understand having that sense of urgency when you have 17. But what are they going to be looking for in their next head coach, Dan? Who is the guy, some of the characteristics of the guy that they believe can get them over the hump? I mean,
that I think is the key question. Like, what are you looking for? Is there somebody out there that can do for you what Gary Kubiak did once upon a time for the Broncos, right? When they had Peyton Manning late in his career and they fired John Fox and then they go win the Super Bowl. Like, we've seen it done. But what is it about that? See, to me, we could do hours on this. The level of variance in the NFL playoffs is so ridiculous. Like, to make hiring and firing decisions based on postseason success feels unwise to me. Like, if there's a coach out there that you can just plug into a current playoff roster that is no longer going, and that means you'll win the Super Bowl, then people would be lining up to hire that guy and pay him $50 million a year. I don't think that guy's necessarily out there. So what are you looking for? Are you looking for a culture change? I would think not, because the culture that McDermott built is a successful one. Are you looking for somebody who can do something different with the quarterback? I would think probably not, because other than Saturday, I think the quarterback's been pretty unassailable here for the last couple of years. So they're going to get together today, put their candidate list together, start reaching out to candidates. It'll be interesting to see. Some of the stuff that was floated yesterday, it's really all speculative at this point. Davis Webb, the Broncos quarterbacks coach who played there in Buffalo, that would be obviously going young and unproven, so you'd want a veteran staff around him. Or do you go get somebody like Mike McCarthy, who's done it, who's sitting out there? So they're getting on it late. They can't talk to any of the assistant coaches on the 4 teams that are still going. they could talk to the coaches for the two that lose on Sunday next week, but the other two they won't be able to talk to till after the Super Bowl. So, yeah, fascinating to see where they go.
Graz, by my quick research here, if the Buffalo Bills were to hire a first-time head coach in the NFL, and they were to actually achieve the level of success that they should have, it would be the greatest first-time head coach in the history of the sport. Because I'm looking at the best first-year records for NFL head coaches. Matt Nagy with the Bears, interestingly enough, 12-4 in 2018. McVay with the Rams, 11-5 in 2017. Seifert with the Niners, 11-5 in '89. Like, in order for them,
like Liam Cohen this year, probably he went 13.
If they have that level of success, if they have Liam Cohen's year or Ben Johnson's year, that's a horrific failure for the Buffalo Bills. It is.
Yeah, yes. I mean, I guess you could say, projecting ahead to this time next year and they've lost in the same round, right? After winning 12 or 13 games. Sure. But you could also say, like, well, he did keep it going and obviously there's hope for the future. But yeah, that's the thing. Like, talking to somebody yesterday, like, would Baltimore look at McDermott? Like, well, they should. McDermott's a really good coach, but you just fired John Harbaugh for the same reason, right? That Buffalo fired McDermott for. So how does that make sense? I think it's a question of what are these teams looking for and what do they think is out there? Because again, if that guy was out there, he'd already have a job, and I just think you're playing with fire.
So are they missing on anyone in your mind? Like, is there anyone sitting there that you're looking at it through your reporting? You're like, this guy's just sitting there. Why are people not talking to him?
No, I mean, look, Mike Tomlin, but he has said he doesn't want to do it next year. So I would call him every day. But if the answer is no, the answer is no. So yeah, I mean, I know Belichick's been floated, but I don't think you can do that off of the year he just had. And now 3 NFL coaching cycles where only one team has even interviewed him, and that team didn't hire him, and has since changed coaches again and still didn't hire him. Yeah, so I don't know. I understand the reasoning behind Buffalo doing what they're doing. I understand the fans are cool with it. I get all that. It's reductive to say, oh, you're not going to find a better coach. Obviously McDermott's a very good coach, but I don't think that there's like press button, add coach, win Super Bowl. I think that's unrealistic.
I was a little surprised yesterday, Dan, to hear that the Dolphins had hired Jeff Hafley, the Packers DC. Not because I didn't think he would get the job. Obviously, when John Eric Sullivan is hired as the Dolphins GM, there's that connective tissue with Green Bay. But I thought maybe they would hold off and perhaps kick the tires on Sean McDermott when he becomes available. Why did they make this move with Hafley now and not explore other options like Sean McDermott?
And how about the same question with Tennessee and Robert Saleh?
Yes.
I mean, no offense to Hafley or Saleh, but like, Sean McDermott just hit the market yesterday. You didn't have a coach. Like, tell Hafley and Saleh, hey, we need a couple days to explore this.
Right.
This guy that's made the playoffs 8 of the last 9 years. Like, no offense, guys, but this is a resume you guys don't have.
Sure.
So maybe they go elsewhere in the meantime and you lose them, but I don't know. To me, I'm with you. It would have been worth it. I would think. Remember when Harbaugh's agent put it out there that 7 teams called within 45 minutes, and there were only 6 that had openings. I'm not. I don't think. I mean, Sean doesn't have the same agent, obviously, but my understanding is he got some calls yesterday, and I am curious as to, and I'm sure they'll have press conferences and maybe be asked, but I'm curious to know why Miami and Tennessee didn't feel at least the need to reach out and gauge his interest.
We're talking with Dan Graziano, ESPN NFL reporter, analyst, outsider for us here on Unsportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance. Which ones of those teams do you think should be first in line for Sean McDermott? So you got the Raiders, you got the Cardinals, you got the Browns. Which one of those teams?
So the perspective is from the team's perspective. Like, if you're the Arizona Cardinals, like, this is a gift. You've kind of been interviewing people, and you're clearly not their first choice, right? John Harbaugh had the conversation because he did with everybody, but he wasn't going to consider Arizona. Robert Saleh wants to go coach Cam Ward as opposed to whatever's going to happen in Arizona with the quarterback. So if you can get Sean McDermott, and what you're Arizona, who's been around for over 100 years and has never had a coach for more than 6, you want Sean McDermott or what he brings to build that culture for you there in Phoenix. But again, I don't know if that's a place he's going to want to go. So to your point, which teams should want him? Any of them. he's more accomplished than anybody else they're interviewing. But that's a place where, like, if you need, and the Raiders too, although the power structure there, I'm not sure he's going to be in a position to do what he needs to do. So, yeah, if I was Arizona, I would call him and say, do the thing you did in Buffalo. Do that for us. Tell us what you need, and we'll make it happen.
Dan Graziano, ESPN NFL reporter and analyst. More on White Boy Wednesdays on SportsCenter coming up. Get up at 8 a.m. Eastern. Pat Costello with I'm Over It next. We're on Sportsmanlike, presented by Progressive Insurance.